The Roman Inquisition Revealed. Our source, with the location of part of our quote visible. The Cambridge Chronicle, published by John Ford, Volume 4, Number 22, Thursday, May 31st, 1849, page 1, columns 3 through 4. Page 1, its full spread visible, and thus a full view of the location of our quote. The Palace of the Inquisition. The London Daily News of April 18th has a letter from its correspondent at Rome, bearing date March 31st, in which is a description of the improvements and excavations that are going on in that city under the new Republican government. The letter writer proceeds to describe a visit he had made that very morning to the works going on in the subterranean vaults of the Holy Office, where he was not a little horrified, he says, at what he saw with his own eyes and held with his own hands. The building is in a close court back of St. Peter's, and is modern and comfortable in external appearance. But on entering, the real character of the place appears. On the ground floor is a range of strongly barred prisons, used as receiving rooms. Farther on, in a small courtyard, is a triple row of small dungeons, capable of holding 60 prisoners, and a supplementary row to the back of the quadrangle. All have iron rings let in the masonry. Numerous inscriptions of ancient date are traced on the walls. One is of this import: "The caprice or wickedness of man cannot exclude me from thy church, O Christ, my only hope." The correspondent says, "The officer in charge let me down to where the men were digging in the vaults below. They had cleared a downward flight of steps, which was choked up with old rubbish, and had come to a series of dungeons under the vaults, deeper still, and which immediately brought to my mind the prisons of the Doge under the canal of the Bridge of Sighs at Venice, only that here there was a surpassing horror. I saw embedded in old masonry, unsymmetrically arranged, 5 skeletons in various recesses, and the clearance had only just begun. The period of their insertion in this spot must have been more than a century and a half. From another vault, full of skulls and scattered human remains, there was a shaft about 4 feet square, ascending perpendicular to the first floor of the building, and ending in a passage off the hall of the chancery, where a trap-door lay between the tribunal and the way into a suite of rooms destined for one of the officials. The object of this shaft could admit of but one surmise. The ground of the vault was made up of decayed animal matter, a lump of which held, embedded in it, a long silken lock of hair, as I found by personal examination, as it was shovelled up from below. But that is not all. There are 2 large subterranean lime kilns, if I may so call them, shaped like a beehive in masonry, filled with layers of calcined bones, forming the substratum of 2 other chambers on the ground floor, in the immediate vicinity of the very mysterious shaft above mentioned. The correspondent, who says he has been familiar with everything in and about Rome for a quarter of a century, very properly raises the inquiry why such a carnal house should have been constructed under the building, with a large space of ground lying outside. He thus comments on the affair: "I know not what interest you may attach to what looks like a chapter from Mrs. Radcliffe, Anne Radcliffe, 1764 to 1823. an English author and pioneer of the Gothic or horror novel. But had I not the evidence of my own senses, I would never have dreamed of such appearances in a prise un of the Holy Office. Being thoroughly sick of the nonsense that has for years been put forth on that topic by partisan pens. But here the thing will become serious, for tomorrow the whole population of Rome is publicly invited by the authorities to come and see with their own eyes one of the results of entrusting power to clerical hands. Libels on the clergy have been manifold during the last 4 months, and have done their work among the masses, but mere talk is nothing to the actual view of realities. He adds that the archives of the Inquisition have been overhauled, and that selections will be published forthwith, including cases of the most intense interest, from Galileo's time downward to modern days. And he concludes, it is quite possible that the Croats of Radetzky may force back on the population of these territories clerical rulers again. But no friend of the Roman Catholic Church acquainted with the present sentiments of the Romans can view such an event without deep alarm.